Hello and welcome to your daily astrology and tarot reading brought to you by Nicholas. This is for Monday, September 22nd of 2014. What a doozy of a week I've been having with my computer technical issues. As you can see, I've moved the video into my room, which is not as nice as my big crystal in the living room, but anyway. The planet of the day is the moon. And so definitely align with your moon energy. The best way to do that is to think of the card of the day, which is the Osho card of the day, the Six of Water. And this is basically the dream. And this is basically you overtly giving energy to something that you don't have, or thinking that you're not as worthy because you don't have it yet, or you haven't attained it yet. Kind of reminds me of that. If you want to listen to a good song, the soundtrack of Monday would be "You Just Haven't Earned It Yet, Baby" by the Smiths. Go Spotify that track if you can. That's what this card represents. And with the lunar energy hitting your emotions, it can be a little bit more emotional. My only advice for aligning with your moon energy, because it's going to be a little bit more of an emotional Monday, and all my readings seem to open up with kind of like what I consider the traditional negative type of card, where it's just like it's not something you really want to hear. It's just tough luck news kind of card. But the big advice is to remember that this is a major week of transformation, and I'll tell you why in a second. And so you need to just focus on the one thing that you have at your plate and the one thing you have at hand, and not worry about what you don't have. Just worry about what you can do. And the more you get into that action and you align with that action, the more grace you'll experience and the better you will be for the week. The only thing, dreaming about something you don't have and worrying about it is not necessarily bad. The problem with a card like this is it becomes like one of those energy vampires, and it can be draining, and I just don't want you to be overtly drained on Monday, especially with a card that's hinting at that. So you can try to just watch as you compare yourself to other things, or as you see the things that you overtly want, and then once you catch a glimpse of one thing that's taking your attention from the reality, like, oh, I'm dreaming of having this love in my life or this relationship. Once you start getting into that situation, start thinking about all the good relationships you do have, and even if you don't think you have good relationships, what have you sacrificed? Why don't you? It's just because you don't have a lot of good relationships right now. Are you spending a lot of times kind of hermiting away and building to something bigger and better? Are you really kind of like in a reconstruction mode? Are you kind of doing things a lot behind the scenes? And take confidence and happiness in that. Like, you do know that relationships are important, and you do know that other people are important, but come back to yourself and just realize that you're giving yourself this time to rebuild something that you think is important. Maybe you're focusing on your career right now. Maybe you're focusing on getting out of debt. Maybe you're focusing on getting your house organized and clean. I don't know, something as silly as that, but that's important for you. So do that, and don't give too much energy. It's not a negative. Just observe it. Give it the power that it deserves. Give it the conscious energy that it deserves, but don't indulge. That's all that Monday's about. And especially with aligning with the moon, it'll make your mood a little bit heavier, so you can avoid that if you just take that into consideration. Why I say today is a very going to be an intense week is there's a lot of buttons being pushed, a lot of buttons being switched astrologically. So we've went over the planet of the day. We've went over the card of the day, which is the Six of Water, the Osho deck. But the signifier card of the week is the Hanged Man. And you need to watch my weekly video to see the entire reading for the week, but this will give clue. We're leading into, to me, this is like anybody who watches this video, anybody who's going through anything, this is kind of the shaman card to me. This is like the person who's outside of normal culture, who can get outside of the pettiness of the politics and the day-to-day stuff and realize what this means spiritually, which is very tough to do. But it's not only being able to do that, it's being able to be arms wide open, heart wide open, accepting that as you can, and realizing it's for a higher purpose. To me, it sometimes gets into the cliche of new agey stuff, where it's like, well, everything happens for a higher purpose, and what happens is that becomes a silver bullet, and people just think that's the case every time, and they just kind of use it as like everything bad thing that happens, you can just say chalk it up as a bad thing that's building you spiritually, and I don't think that's true. But what the cards can tell you is it can kind of link you into that spiritual world, or into that unconscious world, if you will. and allow you to kind of integrate the information and kind of understand. So I don't think it's a silver bullet and true every single time that a bad thing happens to you. It has some great spiritual significance. But anything that's happening this week, indicated by the cards, are telling us that it does. And that's the only honest thing I can tell you about this week. So when it comes down to the astrology of the week, why I'm saying this is an intense week, why our buttons are being pushed, is because Monday Pluto goes direct. Pluto is in Capricorn, and Pluto's squaring Uranus, and it's kind of been going through these series of T-squares, and I think it's got one more next year and it's done. But what happens is Pluto is going backward in the zodiac, and now it's going to start going forward. So I think it's going to try to catch up to Uranus. But it's a lot slower, so I don't know how much success it will have. So definitely have to look at it ephemeris for that. But the long of the short of it is Pluto's in the sign of Capricorn, which is business, the CEO, plan the work, work the plan, all of those structures that weren't serving us as Pluto is in retrograde were being looked at, analyzed, derooted, exposed. It's like they're old wounds that it's just thrown up in the air. Like anytime anybody's trying to do anything bad within a structure, it's getting thwarted and it's getting exposed. So the NFL right now, I'm a big football fan, is having tons of problems with player violence issues and with drug issues. And in fact, a new drug law just passed this weekend, and new players are able to come in and play this week because they changed the drug rules. I mean, it sounds silly, but on a large scale, the NFL is a big thing, in especially in our culture. And so the long short of it is, it's another enterprise, another business, looking how it does things and changing it. And as Pluto goes direct, we're starting to see the new structure actually take place. There was old structures being derooted, new structures taking place. I see that all across the board in many, many ways. Even in, I forget all the ways I'm seeing. There's been so many examples to share. I can't even catch up. I mean, it's happening in the music industry. It's happening in the entertainment industry as a large. It's happening in the 60s, the big thing was civil rights. In this generation, the big thing with Pluto doing these types of squares to Uranus and just making its motions is the fact that we actually have, the equal rights for marriage movements going on in our generation. So you can kind of see these things play out on a larger scale. But you really should look at your own chart and figure out where Pluto is and really try to see how it's affecting you. But so instead of getting into the analysis, let me just give you a quick update on why it's a tough week. So Pluto goes direct on Monday. The new moon happens on Wednesday. And we're going to have this Jupiter trine Uranus at 11:18 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time on Thursday. And we are in the shadow period of the Mercury retrograde, and the Mercury retrograde goes October 4th. It goes direct. So what I'm trying to say with all that is the shadow period is Mercury on October 4th is going to go however far it goes, like let's just say Scorpio, 5 degrees. I'm just making it up. Then it's going to retrograde back, all the way back, into Libra. And then it's going to stop again, and then it's going to come back through Libra, blah, 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 and back through Scorpio. And so the shadow period is like the area that Mercury recovers over. It's already made all that ground, and now it's all the area that it lost. It's losing before it stations again and goes direct. So we are in the shadow period. Mercury is going to comb over the area in the sky that we're at right now. And in fact, Mercury is at, today on September 22nd, Mercury is at 25 degrees of Libra. It's going to hit 25 degrees Libra coming backward at some time. And so the only thing I can tell you about Mercury retrogrades is this is a time to be very conscious of what you're doing in the process that you're doing. And the best thing you can do is try to process and improve right now and think it. Don't try to be sloppy right now. And the only reason I say that is my experience with Mercury retrogrades is it's not as negative as people say. What usually happens as Mercury comes back and comes over that time period, that shadow period in particular, is all those things that we were doing with 100% consciousness, all those things we weren't doing quite right, get exposed. And so people say don't start new projects, mainly because a lot of things come up that are unexpected, that we could have probably prevented if we gave consciousness and thought to in the first place. And so just be looking at not taking any shortcuts during this time if you can. That's the best way to align with it. And yeah, I mean, the astrology of the day, I mean, there's really not a lot going on that I haven't been explaining in the videos. Jupiter's at 14 degrees of Jupiter's at 14 degrees of Leo, so it's on its way to making that square to Uranus, and I mean that trine, sorry, to Uranus. But that's happening later on in the week. And I've already warned you about it. The moon is at 11 degrees Virgo, and we're come Wednesday, be prepared, be starting to think of your new moon wishes. And yeah, I mean, I think we're just opening up Monday with yet another so-called, what I call, negative card. And I don't mean that in a super bad way, but just in a way that it's just the warning. Can you not get sucked into getting your energy drained? So those are the transits. I definitely brought up some heavier astrological stuff. Like if you have any questions about Pluto going direct, if you have any questions about the Mercury retrograde in the shadow period, just go ahead and ask an actual follow-up question in the comment sections, and I'll be happy to either do a blog about it or write up in the comment section, or I'll do a video about it. But if anybody has questions about these kind of heavier terms that I'm bringing up, or there's some confusion about the things I'm saying, I'm definitely open to engaging in that dialogue. So I hope you have a great Monday. It is setting up for a very spiritually potent week. There's going to be some trials and tribulations. Midweek, we're going to have some major arcana things coming up, so there's some positives too. I mean, the only real downers is Monday and Saturday, if you want to look at it that way. Everything else is very positive and bringing us into our spiritual path, but don't think that it's just going to be a glazed over walk, especially as Pluto starts going direct. And like I said, with all these changes, with new moons, with Pluto going direct, with the Mercury retrograde coming up, what I notice in times like this, that astrology is very dynamic, is that people are just kind of wobbly. We're like new ducks being prodded in new directions, and we're just kind of off kilter and off balance. And so a lot of things kind of spring up in this time that are unexpected. So just know that it's to be expected this week. So that's your forecast for Monday. I hope you enjoy. My name is Nicholas. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section, and have a wonderful Monday. Thank you.